We're continuing this video series with tutorials on everything related to brokers. This time, we're talking about eToro. We've already made a video on how to register, and now we're making a video on how to buy stocks within eToro. So first of all, if you're just about to start investing, haven't deposited yet, or haven't even created an account, remember that I've left a link in the description in case you want to create one. Secondly, before you start depositing your real money, I recommend that you come here where it says switch to virtual at the bottom and click on switch to virtual portfolio. What this will do is give you a portfolio of $100,000. In my case, I have it at 78,000 because I've been testing and changing things around. But anyway, basically, for you to be able to invest directly, what you have to do, let's say, it's the same in the virtual portfolio as in the real portfolio. Really, the virtual portfolio is just fictitious money that we don't actually have, but the functions and everything else will work the same way. So to start investing, you should already know what you're going to invest in. So you're going to go to where it says Discover, and here you'll see all the options that we can buy within eToro. So stocks, cryptocurrencies, indices, commodities, currencies, ETFs, copy trader, smart portfolios, NFTs, and, well, these last three options here, or rather, these two here, copy trader and smart portfolios. I think we'll make a specific video about those later on. If you have any questions about eToro or want me to make a specific tutorial, leave it in the description, well, in the comments, actually, so I can know what kind of content you want me to make about this platform. So once you're here, you're going to look for the stock you want to invest in. For example, you come here to the stocks section, and let's suppose you want to invest in Tesla. So you just click on it, and here you'll be able to see the entire interface to invest there. If you can't find it, you can search at the top using the ticker. The ticker is basically the code that the stock has on the exchange where it's listed. So in this case, it's listed as TSLA. As you can see, I search for Tesla like this, and it shows up here. That is without the E. And then I click on invest, and it takes me to this same investment page. All right. Once we're here, we find different sections. First, there's a summary of all the information we have within eToro, which is basically a summary of all these options here. For example, the chart that we have here. Then the analyst section that we have here, which is the analyst forecast in this particular case. It is set to hold, meaning neither a buy nor a sell. But remember, this is not always necessarily correct. It could be accurate, or it might not be. There are stocks or ETFs where this section says sell everything because this is going to crash. And it turns out that if you hold on to it, after a while, the ETF goes up 10-fold or 20-fold. So really, this is something to keep in mind, to study and to use as a starting point, but don't rely on it 100%. Then there are the important ESG criteria, whether this particular company or stock actually meets those criteria and to what extent. And then down here, if we scroll a bit further, we can set up price alerts. And if we don't want to invest, for example, at 262, but rather at 250, then here we can set it so that when the stock drops by a certain percentage, we receive a notification so we can enter and invest in this stock. Next, we have the news section with information about the company or the stock. And up here, we have a really interesting section, which is the company's financials. So you can specifically see the market capitalization, the days range, and the 52-week range. Here you'll find the financial summary of the company's margin, the operating margin, and, well, several other things here as well. Once you've carefully studied this, now we are truly ready to invest. So let's proceed to click this prominent big button here that clearly says invest. This time we're going to see how to buy stocks on eToro, but we won't be covering how to short sell, or rather how to effectively buy short. We'll cover that in another video. So here under buy, we have several options. The very first option is located right here under amount, where you can precisely set how much money you wish to invest. For example, you can enter $200, and this means you will buy 0.76 shares. This means you will be buying fractional shares. That is, you won't be buying a whole share. To be able to buy whole shares, what you can do is click right below where you see these two arrows pointing at each other. You click there, and what you do now is you're not selecting by amount, meaning you're not saying, well, I have $200 I want to invest, but rather, I want 5 shares, for example, of Tesla. So it says that if I want 5 whole shares, I have to pay $1,314, $1,315. And if I go down here and enter, for example, 4.5, then I'm buying 4.5 shares, meaning 1 share is fractional, cut in half. Let's say I chose this and I'm going to buy it. Let's say I chose 5. Next, we have the stop loss. The stop loss is simply an order where what you can do is buy this stock. And what happens is that if I buy, for example, these 5 shares at 1,314, but it turns out things go badly and the value of my 5 shares drops to 1,200, I don't have to be watching for it to reach 1,200. Instead, what I can do is set a stop loss so that when it hits $1,200, the trade automatically closes. That is, I would only lose about $113, $114 at that point. And that's it, it closes there and I can set it up myself. And what I do is I don't have to be watching whether the stock goes down or up. No, rather if I end up losing that amount of money, in other words, if this stock reaches that price shown here in my position, automatically closes, I automatically sell my position. Next, leverage. We're not going to explain it in detail because honestly, I feel like we shouldn't, since it's something I don't like, but we could make a specific video about it. Basically, it's like, so to speak, going into debt to invest more. And with this, just as you can earn much more, you can also lose much more. So leverage is not something I recommend. We leave it at 1, which means we won't be using leverage. We won't be borrowing, so to speak, but rather we're investing with our own money. Next, we have the take profit section, which is like the stop loss, but the other way around. So you don't have to keep checking how much you've earned, but instead to set yourself a target. So if we want this stock to reach, for example, $1,500, then I set it at 1,500 and click set. So what happens then? Right now, by buying 5 shares, I have a value of $1,315.45. What happens if these shares increase in value and this total reaches $1,500? Automatically. What eToro will do is close the trade when I'm already earning this amount. That is when the value of my shares reaches this $1,500. This is a good thing because honestly, for someone who wants to go up to a certain point, it's useful, since it could be that it hits 1,500 and then drops from there. But there are many people who prefer not to set the take profit and remove it because they say, I'll sell myself, I'll decide when to sell, I don't need that, and they just leave it like that. So next we find the name of the stock we're investing in to confirm that we are indeed investing in it. And then we have the order type. We have the market order and the limit order. With the market order, what happens is that we are buying at the price at which this stock is currently being traded. Then it might be that I want to place a limit order, meaning I want to set my own price. I don't want to pay 263.08, but rather I want to pay 260. Well, if I set it at 260, the order won't be executed right away. Instead, what will happen is that I have to wait for the price to reach that amount for the order to be executed. If it never reaches that price, if no one is willing to sell at that price, then I won't be able to buy those shares. So the order will remain pending. So, well, here I prefer to leave it as a market order. And also remember that depending on the stock exchange you're investing in, there are specific trading hours. So if you're investing in the Frankfurt Stock Exchange or in New York, the trading hours are different. Therefore, for these trades to be executed, you have to invest during the hours when the exchange is open because otherwise the transaction will remain pending until the market opens the next day. And it could be that today I'm investing at 262.86 and I'm willing to pay that, but it turns out that tomorrow when the market opens, this stock is already at $250. So I'm offering more than I'll actually have to pay if I set it as a limit order in this case. But if I leave it as a market order, then I'll pay whatever the price is at that moment. Next, the amount of available money we have, remember? This is the available virtual portfolio that we have. And then we have the estimated costs, which is the $1 commission charged by eToro at this moment when we invest in stocks. So as we can see, there we have this amount. And once we confirm that everything is in order, that we agree with everything, then we click buy and it says order received here and then order completed. It was fulfilled so quickly because the market is open at the moment I am speaking and recording this video. If I go over here to the portfolio, you'll see that the stock I just bought now appears here. It shows the number of units, the average price at which I bought, gains and losses at this moment. Right now we're in the positive, we just bought, and the stock is doing well, so we leave it there. And then the gains and losses in terms of percentages. In other words, we've made a 0.13% profit and then the current value of our stock or our investment at this moment. And that's how we would invest. If we want to buy something else again, we just click on invest once more. We don't have to completely close and then reopen a position. Instead, we simply click on invest and then enter the exact number of shares we desire again.